Welcome everybody who is joining. Just going to give it a minute for people to join in and then we'll be starting. Hi, Kira.
Yay!
Now I'm unmuted. Yeah. So for those who are joining, I just ask you to keep your mic on mute at the moment. We are going to be recording and sending out the replay afterwards, so we'll just make it easier for those listening in. So welcome to our space.
Yay,
thank you so much for joining us today on the workshop on sovereign and the 3 steps to becoming sovereign.
Fantastic. And Aisling, we have some people joining even from the far-flung corners of the world in the middle of the night, which is incredible. Thank you. I'm really, really honored, and I'm sure Aisling would agree that you're taking your time in your nighttime, especially to join us live. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you so much, guys.
Aisling, would you like me to do a little introduction?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey.
Hi.
So why are we doing this? So Aisling and I have been journeying together since 2011, which is over a decade now. And through our own journeys, we have gone through the process of becoming sovereign, which is what this is about. And we found that there are so many layers to this journey, and it's taken us this decade, perhaps even longer, to really, really move through this. There's so much involved. And there are many challenges that come up along the way, and many pitfalls as well, that a great deal of life beings struggle with. And we're joining together now to bring you everything that we've learned along our journey, walking side by side, so that we can expedite this process for others so it doesn't have to take a decade. And also, this is the time when we are really, really called as the light bearers, the way showers of a new tomorrow, to step up as leaders of the new earth reality that is being born. And becoming sovereign is absolutely crucial and central to that. It's a step that cannot be skipped, essentially. And so we really are called to support all of those who are meant to be way showers of a new tomorrow, which is going to be all of you. If you're here, that's why you're joining us. That's why this resonated with you. And that's why we want to share this information with you. So today, we are going to be going over what we consider to be the 3 key steps to becoming sovereign, pieces that can't really be missed. And of course, there may be more for every individual and so on, but these are the things that we want to share from our perspective.
Yeah, so let's dive in.
Perfect.
So the first one, and this is something that I think, Kira, when I first met you, you were kind of introducing me to that concept, but I was still very much like in the old paradigm of nutrition, you know. But actually, I just naturally started to come into this understanding that, well, in order for me to really step into who I am, that I had to let go of a lot of density, and that was just kind of bubbling up from within me. And I think the importance of not just following a plant-based diet, but actually being able to ongoingly cleanse the body and release that density that's held at a physical level, I think is just so essential to be able to deprogram the body from the old matrix, which is of a much lower frequency state. And also the body has been very much hijacked from a lot of the foods and a lot of the substances that we have been promoted to eat. So I think this is a huge, huge part of becoming sovereign that can't be bypassed by the mind or by any other means. And I know, Kira, you've had extensive experience of this as well personally. And for me, this was the part of my whole awakening, was actually learning to come home to my own body and clear all of the dross and the debris and that's stored at a cellular level and also in the organs, in particular in the liver.
There's a piece that I want to add to this, Aisling, if you don't mind,
Mm.
and it's that what I've noticed on this journey of evolving consciousness is that the vast majority of light beings, and I've been in this place myself, this is where I came from, and I've obviously gone through the process of arriving at where I am now. I'm speaking very much from personal experience here, of hoping that we can just sort of create the new reality while somehow avoiding physical life.
Yeah.
And I know it's very innocent, etc., but it's a huge, huge misperception. And the most important thing that we need to understand is that physical life, the most dense level of existence, is the most powerful place that there is. There is no place in existence that is more powerful than physicality. Cosmically speaking, if we're speaking of the metaphysics, the densest level of life is the place from which greatest change can occur. And so light workers, in fact, become most powerfully influential, not just on the earth, but throughout the entire macrocosm by dropping into the densest possible layers and recreating life from there. Now, one of the reasons that this has been such a challenge for so many light beings is because we've come from, let's say, higher realms, if you will. It's a misperception that there's higher realms, but let's just call it that. In our perception, we have come from what feels to us like higher realms, much less dense realms. Some of us have come directly from what's known metaphysically as the field of the one, and so much more, where it definitely wasn't like it's been on this planet right now. And so the shock of, oh my God, physicality is horrendous, I do not want to be here, has been intense for many of us. It's the fact of how dense it's been at this layer that has made us kind of averse to, oh God, I really don't want to go into that. But we have to somehow find a way to come into the density, and our role from that place is to recreate physical life from there. But we can't do that if we're not here. So what we found, both Aisling and myself have found, is that one of the most powerful ways we can make physical life comfortable for us is to shed the dense illusions. When we're saying density, it's not just, the density of physical life in terms of there's a solidity to physical life that isn't the same in the etheric realms. But density here is also referring, metaphysically speaking, to old programs, old illusions. And exactly as Aisling said, these are stored in the body. The body, metaphysically, the body and our wider physical reality are one and the same. Our body is our own gateway to physical reality as a whole. And adopting this type of diet, a cleansing plant-based diet, very specifically, not a junk food plant-based diet, and I'm sure Aisling can mention a little bit more about that in moments, is the easiest possible way to support our own body with shedding the density that is illusion-based. That then makes it comfortable for us to come into physicality. But if our own body is loaded up with all of this crud of the matrix paradigm, it's just going to be too horrible to come in. So this approach supports our body to effortlessly, easily shed all of that layers of stuff that isn't really us, so that we can experience the true meaning of density in terms of the gift of being in a physical body and the joy of that, and the fun of, getting to dance, getting to play, getting to enjoy lovely, wholesome, delicious, nourishing foods that come directly from the earth, hugging each other, all of this kind of thing, all of the things that feel so difficult to even enjoy that basic stuff if the body is so loaded with density. Do you want to add anything to that, Aisling?
Yeah, because I think, we've been purposely fed a diet that has basically cut us off from that.
Exactly.
From the very get-go. And it's not just even you over your lifetime, it's also from the family line. It's kind of going back generations. So it's like there's a lot that has clogged up the body systems and the organs. And again, as you said, it is very uncomfortable. And I was there myself. And this is what kind of drew me to this journey anyway. It was through my own experience of just having all of these different symptoms and feeling just so uncomfortable in the physical. And for ages, I was numbing out. I was using at one stage probably alcohol, then medication, then I came off that, but then I was kind of changing it over to using, heavy fats and oils and things like that were numbing, but were actually keeping me from fully landing into my physical body. And then I started to get those insights. And then obviously from being on the journey with you, Ciara, that kind of accelerated that awareness as well around that. And so, yeah, I think it's something that cannot be bypassed. And it's something that, it's not like I do it once and it's done. It's kind of has to be adopted as like an ongoing practice, because the bodies really need a lot of tender loving care at this time. And I think it just has to be part of the full physical landing, and I know a lot of people are really kind of coming into their callings now. And again, I think that's something that you might think that this is separate to that, but it's like it's completely interconnected, because the more that you're physically present, the more that you can actually manifest in the physical world.
Could you just say a little bit, please, Aisling, about why a cleansing plant-based diet in terms of the impact on the cellular release?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously veganism and plant-based foods have become really popular in recent years, but they're still very clogging. And the foods that are promoted are still very problematic for the body. So like, it's not just about having a plant-based diet, it's really about adopting a cleansing plant-based diet, whereby you're actually in a perpetual mode of regeneration and cleansing with the body, and you're not eating in a way that it is causing any waste to build up in the body. And also you're supporting the full rejuvenation of all of your organs, so that the whole field can start to work as one, as opposed to one aspect of you impacting the other. And so it really needs to be a cleansing plant-based diet, as opposed to, I'm a vegan, therefore it's all good, because I see a lot of people adopting that, and they're probably eating foods that are having the exact same impact, but it feels a little bit better because it's a bit lighter, but it's still having the same impact as like a standard Western diet.
We should probably add as well that as well as the toxic load that has built up in the body over a lifetime, and as Aisling mentioned, sometimes it's generational as well. And I'm saying sometimes because there's a metaphysical nuance there that won't resonate with some beings.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time there is a generational impact as well. It's not just that, it's the fact that we're being bombarded constantly with so much toxicity. And if the body's elimination pathways aren't properly supported to be constantly releasing that, it just builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And it shows up in even subtle things like, your skin is constantly breaking out and so on, even if you have maybe a vegan diet. And quite often it's as simple as the constant bombardment, and there isn't the proper supports to be enabling that to be constantly shedding in an easeful way. The body is designed to continually renew, continually self-heal, continually self-cleanse. But if we're constantly stuffing things in that clogs it up, it can't do that function properly. And we just make it so much more difficult for our own body, which is trying to support us. And that's really why this approach is the most easeful, graceful way. We're not saying, you're not going to be sovereign if you eat something else. We're saying that this makes it as easy as it can possibly get. And then you can just get on with enjoying life because your body's taking care of itself.
Yeah, it's really to make it as graceful as possible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think otherwise we can make it so much harder on ourselves unnecessarily. But I think then obviously there is issues with all of this in terms of, and we've spoken about this, which I think brings us to the next point, Ciara, which you can speak into, which is, a lot of the times we are very heavily influenced by those who are around us, and kind of, so this can be a huge obstacle to actually move through this, and sometimes unknowingly that this is happening.
Absolutely, which indeed, as you said, brings us to the next point. Point 2, which truly cannot be skipped, and that is establishing a foundation of wholeness within the psyche. So the first thing to understand about this is that cosmically, we have lived in a trauma reality. I speak of this a lot in my own work because it's the best way to encapsulate kind of how cosmic life has been. It's been a trauma-based reality. Whatever way we look at it, it's been separation-based. It's been subject to the laws of polarity. And by virtue of that, everybody on this planet has experienced trauma to some degree or another, even if we haven't had a particularly traumatic life. And what this has led to is that within the psyche itself, there's fragmentation. So long as there's fragmentation, it's impossible to be sovereign. So the way that we approach this is through the understanding of what's referred to as the inner family. And this term comes from the work of the seer Amin, who mapped this out in terms of its cosmic implications. And the inner family includes components like the inner child, the inner nurturer, which is the inner mother, the inner warrior, the inner wise person or the inner sage, and many more pieces as well. And if you just conceptualize how we've been living in a trauma-based reality, fragmentation, separation, all of our interactions throughout our entire life have been from the baseline. This is what we've learned from our parents. This is what we've learned in every single relationship we've ever had in our lives, which breeds codependency. It breeds going along with the status quo because we're afraid of being rejected, because in our childhoods, rejection meant death. If your parents rejected you, big problem. So we've learned all of these mechanisms that we go through life. I'll just squeeze myself and contort myself, and I'll just be sure that I don't rock the boat too much because my very existence is threatened if I do. Now, obviously, if we look at it this way, what that leads to in our lives is that we're going to self-sabotage. There's going to be places where we might be called to something in our heart of hearts as ours to do, but we find we're not able to because we're afraid of how people are going to think about us. We're afraid of being rejected. Again, as I've already said, we're afraid of the judgment, of the impact that it's going to have on us, on our fragmented inner self, if we do certain things. And the way it affects us in terms of caring for our bodies in the ways that we really know is right for us. And you and I have talked about this a lot, Aisling, is that because there are really not that many people on the planet right now who are truly home for themselves in caring for their body, their soul, their spirit, everything in the way that is right for a luminous being, as I like to call us, a highly conscious being who's here to be a way shower of a new tomorrow, we inherently stand out a little bit. We're inherently kind of, my granny used to say to me, you stick out like a sore thumb, which was very appropriate. Yeah. And when there's not a wholeness within the psyche, we're constantly going to be bumping up against, okay, I've pushed it a little bit too far with sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm just going to go back to eating the more dense stuff. I'm just going to go back to going along with, I go to a family dinner and they're all eating this stuff. I'll just do what they're doing. Or my friends all want to go to a particular restaurant. I don't have the wholeness within to say that's not suitable for me. So I'll just do what everybody else is doing. Or another very, very common one that I've noticed comes up so often. If you manage to adopt a cleansing plant-based diet to enough of a degree that you start to dramatically shed the old illusions and really raise your frequency, there comes a point where you start to shine so bright that you're then gonna start to bump up against, oh shit, now everybody can see me. Mm. And a lot of people start to backtrack at that stage. I'll be honest, myself, I've been through this so many times where I get to that point and then it's like, I think I'm just gonna eat a loaf of bread. This would have been far in the past because I need to bring myself down a little bit. Yeah. I can't be too bright, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once again, we're back to the self-sabotage. So can you see from this also how really the care of our body and, our true larger passion, Aisling, fulfilling our calling as way showers of a new tomorrow are absolutely interrelated. You can't separate them out. And I think a missing piece for a lot of light beings is that we try to separate them out and then we're confused about why is it not coming together. Nothing can be separated from anything else. Your relationships are going to affect your capacity to be all you truly are. The way you eat is going to affect your capacity to be all you truly are. What you believe about yourself is going to affect your capacity to be all that you really are, and how you eat and your relationships. Do you see what I'm saying? And we're really going to dive deeply into this in the Sovereign program, which we're launching, which we'll tell you about later. So this is foundational. It's fundamental. This is the literal foundation upon which everything else is built, without which the house is going to fall down. Metaphysically speaking, the mapping of the inner family is, if we're speaking of metaphysics, it is the actual foundation of physical life. Some of you would be familiar with the medicine wheel. It's very commonly understood within various different traditions, most notably the Native American traditions. The medicine wheel maps the 4 directions of literal cosmic space. The primary 4 inner family pieces correspond to that. So that's our physical reality. That's our that's the physical space of our reality in physical life. If you're not living that space fully, which is where the inner family comes in, it's going to be completely impossible, metaphysically speaking, to step into that space and express in a sovereign way all that is really yours to bring through with your life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's probably why a lot of the times people feel this kind of like starting, stopping pattern happening. Because that as you said, there's that fragmentation that's within, and then that plays out, doesn't it, in the outer relationships, because it's like there's no everywhere. Separation between the inner family and then the outer relationships that we have in our physical life.
Very much so. I'll just say one more piece on this, that most people are familiar with concepts like codependency. There's been a lot of work done in the field of neuroscience and healing through neuroscience over the last few years that's touched on things like, another concept is fawning. Some of you might have been familiar with that. And a lot of the times, if you were to look at these things, you might think, that only applies, if I've had a particularly traumatic life, like if I've had a traumatic childhood and so on. But when we really break it down and understand that the fabric of reality as we've experienced it within the dream of separation has been inherently trauma-based, you can really start to see how everybody has some of this going on. Even if you've had a wonderful childhood, if your parents were amazing, if your parents were totally supportive, their parents would have conditioned them to behave in certain ways, and we've taken this on unconsciously. So even if you've had a fantastic life, there is 100% going to be places where there are these patterns of conforming to the old trauma-based reality that are happening. And so long as that's there, it makes it impossible, because the inner family are the building blocks of a new reality. It makes it impossible for us to actually build something new if we're using the same broken blocks. So crucial piece that needs to be established.
Yeah, and I think that is so helpful to know that, because I think sometimes you can think, oh, am I my own worst enemy, or what's the issue, like why can't I do the thing, or because even like for me, I remember even the trauma of like the campaign, the Greg and Slaughter campaign, and being able to actually step out as to, okay, no, actually I'm not here to be part of that matrix. I'm here to bring in something altogether new. I remember the actual physical fear just going through my body and just feeling like I was almost going to be taken out, literally on a physical level. I remember I was at an event in Galway and I wanted to run. I was like, every part of me, I was sitting on the chair. I was like, I just need to run out of this room. I can't tell people who I am. And then I did. And, nobody tried to kill me. But it was, it was just on a physical nervous system level. I can so see why, a lot of us are bumping up against that. And then it's easy to just kind of revert back and just be like, I'm just not going to do it. Maybe it's just not really possible.
It might be valuable to add, Aisling, that although nobody tried to kill you at that event, you did get a lot of backlash And this contributed to your journey of actually establishing the inner family within yourself. Because one of the things that happens when we try to really be all that we are, which is exactly, you've experienced this too, Aisling, and I'm sure many of you have touched on this as well, is that we're going to trigger the fears of the people who are still very much in the old reality. And it's pretty much guaranteed that you'll get some kind of backlash, whether it's from family or friends, or whether it's, if you're doing something more public, which many of us are called to, from people in general. And we have to be strong enough within the foundation of the psyche that it literally does not matter. I'm sure you would agree, Aisling, that both of us at this stage are in a place where you can throw whatever and it bounces right off. It literally does not matter. Many don't even try to do what we're really called to because we're afraid of hitting that. Whereas if you have the foundation established, there's no need to fear because you know you can weather whatever. And that in itself automatically opens up a really clear pathway where you can just step into what you're called to, because you know that you've got the infrastructure to support it, which is absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, because otherwise it can feel very much up and down, up and down. And that's like an internal feeling of instability. Whereas, as you're saying, that foundation is essential. So that brings us to the third step, which is aligning with the emerging new earth reality. And I just have to bring it back to actually just the vision that I shared in 2011 and how I connected with Kira. I had a vision that I was going to have a healing retreat center, and it was all coming through about like becoming part of like this new tomorrow. Like these words kept coming to me and I didn't really understand. And then you were kind of able to translate them for me, like metaphysically. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm kind of tuning into this. And I think because of what's gone down the past 2 years, it can be so easy to just be caught up in that. And I think, every time I come back to my conversations with you, Kira, it's always about like that's just going to do its thing. It's going to keep destructuring. But for all of us now to be sovereign, it's like we have to align ourselves with the emerging new earth. And all that is being asked of us, to just, it's there as a potential, but we actually have to do the work. Like it's not going to just happen.
So I'll add to that something that is a crucial understanding too. We're not here to fix the matrix. The matrix is going to implode. It is absolutely going to implode. It's designed to. It was always designed to fall apart right to the very last. That's its function. The challenge that many light beings have had is that we've been in the matrix trying to fix it, trying to make it better, trying to repair it, etc. It's broken beyond repair, and that's not what we're here to do. We have to gather the strength and the courage within ourselves to completely release the matrix reality. Let it do what it's going to do. Let it collapse. Let it destructure. And focus all of our power on building something new in its place. It's never going to work to try to fix the old. It just doesn't happen like that. So we've got a situation right now on this planet where there's kind of, let's say, a split reality going on. We've got the old matrix paradigm, which is destructuring, 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 and it's meant to destructure right till the very end. That's its function. And then on the other hand, we've got the new that's being built. Some will stay in the old. They're not coming with us. We need to understand that. The ones that are staying in the old, whatever they're doing on their journey, which we leave up to the infinite, it's up to the infinite to take care of that. They will be releasing masses and masses and masses of power and masses of density to free the rest of us to move forward. It's a huge service. For the light bearers, for the way showers of the new tomorrow, our role now is to align ourselves with our whole being, every cell of our body, with the new that is emerging, and to focus on building that. And for that, we have to have sovereignty. A crucial component of sovereignty, which we're going to touch on in this program as well, is the purifying and the healing of the heart. So long as there is an attachment to whatever's in the old, and that often refers to people, we want to save the people, we want to save humanity, we want to save this and save that, we want to rescue, etc. We won't be able to create the new. that has to be dissolved. The attachment has to be released. The fear of what might happen to other people has to be released. All of that has to be dissolved from our being for us to truly, powerfully take up our role of building the new. So that's the very first thing to understand. The next thing to understand within this is that the stage play that we're seeing on the earth right now, with the big players that are doing this and that and so on, and the V and the this and the that and all of that stuff, you know, it serves a purpose. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. And we are not going to make things better by trying to fight it, by focusing our attention on what's going on. That's not going to help. We need to detach ourselves even from that and to simply focus on building the new reality where others like us who are already awake, who already know what the deal is, step into the new together, start creating it together, start connecting together. What we're doing in this way is we're building a bridge. We're building a bridge to a higher reality that some who might still be able to in the future will be able to come through to, but it's not through trying to wake them up. It's through entrainment. It's through resonance. We become the embodiment of the new reality, and through entrainment, others feel it and are pulled towards it through grace. That's the best way that we can possibly serve. If we're giving even an ounce of our precious mental or emotional energy to worrying about, you know, what are the government going to do next with, you know, mandating this or mandating that, that's energy that's being lost on what we need to create the new. So it's a really big shift. It's a huge, huge, huge shift. And the next piece that's within this is understanding, and I'm sure you have a lot more to add on this as well, Aisling, the principles of the New Earth reality. There are completely different principles that govern a New Earth reality. We were talking a moment ago about building blocks. Quite literally, we are creating the new from an entirely different set of blocks. We're not trying to take the blocks of the old reality and build something different out of them. We're ditching those blocks. Okay, thank you. That was fun. Let's have a completely different set and constructing something from a different fabric. It's an entirely different fabric. And there's different principles that go with this, some of which are higher attitudes, higher perspectives, higher frequency. An attitude is defined by the Seer Amin as a combination of perception and perception and frequency. So the higher attitudes would be, for example, the ascension attitudes that Amin has outlined of love, praise, gratitude, trust, and hope, which have deep metaphysical principles within them, which we'll be looking at within this program as well. And what I've noticed is that while these seem fairly simple, you know, I'll express gratitude, etc. When you really scan through your life, every facet of your life with intense honesty, there are many places where we're not applying these attitudes. It's actually got to become that these attitudes, as just one of the principles of the New Earth reality, become the literal fabric of our existence. They have to become like the woven carpets that we're standing on. In the New Earth reality, they have to weave together so that they are the actual fabric. It's truly that way of the new. So a good thing for you to take away from today is to have a look through your life and just explore, you know, where are the places that, for example, gratitude is truly not actually woven into the fabric of my life? And love, where is that not actually woven into the fabric of my life? And it's in subtle places, like yesterday, for example, and I know I'm talking a lot, Aisling, but I have a lot to say about this. Yesterday,
it's all good.
Thank you. Yesterday, my dad fell and injured himself, which is the second time he significantly injured himself in a short space of time. And I had to really look at, you know, the application of all of these attitudes in that context. Can we really apply? Where's the gratitude here? Where's the trust? Where's the hope? Where's the love when faced with the millions of difficult things that we're going to be presented with day by day? If we're the way showers of a new tomorrow, this is not something that's going to happen, blink and we're in the new earth. This is something that we're literally building, and we're the forerunners. We're the first ones doing it. That means there isn't a template for us to step into. It means we're creating the template. There's nobody else who's going to show us, who's going to say, look, it's already done, come this way. We're literally doing it, which means there's a bridging process. There's going to be challenges. There are going to be difficult things. And with everything that comes up, we're weaving the new space-time fabric from these attitudes, from our higher frequency, from our higher perspective. And perspectives are things like the poetic perspective, seeing the poetry of existence, the magical perspective, truly seeing that your entire viewpoint with all that you are and with all that you've got, the magical life that's unfolding through you. The eternal perspective that sees things within the broad context of we're on an eternal journey here. This is a decades-long process. Chill, relax into it. Don't be expecting it to be completely different tomorrow. Miraculous change can happen in our lives, but this building a new earth is a big deal. It's going to take a while. This sort of thing. Would you like to add to that, Aisling?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of my own self, actually, because I had an injury. Well, it was my dog, Happy, had an injury this week as well. And interestingly, myself and Richie had to apply the principle of trust to that situation. How, again, just this whole feeling of like, just taking a step back, because, normally when things like that happen, there obviously are times where you do need to have assistance, but we could have ran, and he was bleeding. So anyway, he had a little injury on his genitals, which is if you have a male dog, that can happen when other dogs are in season. Anyway, long story short, that feeling of, oh my God, this is a panic, and just kind of, outsourcing it straight away, running to the vets and just getting it all done in a panic. We were like, let's just, see how he goes, just wait and see if is it going to be okay. And just applying that principle of trusting it and kind of seeing like how he's actually teaching us and training us with this experience, just totally transformed it, and it allowed us to, he healed perfectly. We were using our homeopathy kit. And again, like, I think all of these challenges that come into our lives personally are there so that we can transmute them, and as you say, like weave in this new earth reality through those moments, through those mundane daily experiences that we're all going to be encountering.
Can you just say a bit more about the outsourcing part, because I know that's a huge component of what you're going to be bringing with regards to health?
Yeah, because I think, as you say, we're coming out of the dream of separation, and that program is so deep, and especially with our health is like the biggest thing. And to actually turn it around from putting out the responsibility of your personal health on somebody outside of yourself, whether that's a healthcare professional, whether that's a hospital, healthcare system, and actually turning it within and actually accessing that from within, I think is an essential component of Sovereign, which is what I'll be guiding through in the program as well, because I think that in itself is fundamental for this new earth reality to form. And I've been going through that huge amounts, because obviously I'm in the later stages of my pregnancy now, and just seeing how much that program runs so deep from the very, very beginning. I think to be able to bring it back and to reclaim that power, that sovereign power over your own body, is also a essential ingredient for the creation of this new earth, because otherwise we're just carrying through the same distortions as what we've been living through in the world of separation.
It also comes down to things like decisions within life. If we go back to that understanding that we are literally the way showers of a new tomorrow, nobody else on this planet can tell us what is the right path for us to follow. We're having to actually draw from beyond existing cosmic boundaries, from deep within our own being. And we have to have the trust in self to be able to do that as well, to truly recognize ourselves as the only sovereign source of authority within our own lives, to the degree that we can say, hey, this is what I'm called to. Nobody's ever done it before. That's what I'm going to do, without fear, without concern how we're going to be perceived by others, with total trust in where life is leading us, with total trust that we'll be supported. And all of these things as well is another really, really key component.
Yeah.
Aisling, do you have anything else to add on this? Because if not, I would love to offer an activation for our beautiful beings who are here, and for those on the recording as well, to align us with this right now.
Yeah, no, I've said my bit anyway for now. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the floor for so long. Okay, dear ones. So for those of you on the recording as well, if you've been listening to this, hopefully you haven't been listening while driving, but if you've been listening doing something else, I'd really like to invite you to just put everything else aside for a moment. Don't try to multitask. And dear ones, I'd like to invite you to just drop in with me now. Take a few nice deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. A few rounds of this with your in-breath, dropping yourself deep into your body. Feeling your own awareness, your own presence drop right down through your chest, into your abdomen, into your pelvic cavity, down through your legs and into the earth beneath you. And feeling the earth as you make contact through your feet, holding you right back. Drop your roots right down into the core of the earth and feel the earth meet you and hold you right back, steadying you. Welcoming you home, welcoming you to physicality, welcoming you to the joy of exploring, having a body to play with on this beautiful planet at this miraculous time. And with your out breath, just blowing out all tension, blowing out with intention right now within our space that we've got held here for you. Layers and layers and layers of stuff that just feels like, I don't need this anymore. Things that you know deep within your being you do not need to carry with you. Letting it be shed now in this sacred space, in this safe space where we're joined together hand in hand as way showers of a new tomorrow. And I'd like to invite you to become aware of all of the support that we have available to us right now. We have a whole team of beautiful beings from the hidden realms. We've got the angelic kingdom, we've got the fairy kingdom, and so much more. Just opening yourself right now to welcome in all of the support that's there, and knowing that we're not alone in this. No one of us needs to somehow figure this out by ourselves. The one life expressing as the one and the many, which includes all of these magical kingdoms, is going through this journey together. Just letting yourself feel that for a moment and feeling your place within the interconnected web of life. Vital place. If you weren't there, something would be missing. Let yourself swell now with self-honoring, self-recognition of your place within the scheme of things. And what a joy it feels to be connected in oneness. Calling upon the angel gods of the cosmos to clear the fields now of all of our participants, live and on the replay, throughout space and time, in the timeless, eternal moment, effortlessly shedding layers of density, activating higher consciousness, higher templates of existence, lifting us up now to the highest time-space fabric that we can access, filling our beings with love, trust, hope, gratitude, glad anticipation of wondrous things to come, aligning each of our participants now with the highest possible timeline that is available for them to walk as way showers of a new earth, connecting to all macrocosmic support, anchoring now in the new earth reality, and let yourself feel your roots dropping deep once again now. But this time your roots are dropping deep, deep, deep into a higher dimensional level of the earth's existence, higher dimensional reality, new earth reality. Feeling that opening up all around you, letting your vision change, letting your hearing change, seeing what you see, hearing what you hear, feeling what you feel. Feel your cells now filling with the great glowing luminosity of your own being within this new earth reality, noticing that you have already got this encoded within you. You have already lived this on some level of your being. You know how to do this. All we're doing here is shedding the layers that have obscured the truth of our own being from ourselves. You have come from a higher reality to establish once again on the earth a higher reality by landing fully. And give yourself permission now to do so. Make your commitment today that this day you will land deeper than you have ever done before. You will remember the oneness of life and the support that is available to you. You'll feel yourself once again within the field of all that is, as part of the fabric of things. Not alone. And do know that our beautiful team here will be continuing to support you with this over the coming days. Remain open to receive that. We thank you for being here. We thank you for the gift of your presence on this earth, for all that you are, for all that you do. It's a great privilege to be walking alongside you, beautiful, luminous beings. And thank you. Thank you for joining us.
That was gorgeous, Kira. Thank you so much for that activation. Oh, so that brings us to what myself and Kira have created in a container, which is going to be a 6-week journey through body healing and awakening of consciousness. We are teaming up together. I'm doing the physical aspect and Kira is doing the metaphysical, which is so much more than that. But this has been something that has probably been a long time coming. For a lot, we've been gestating this for a long time. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Sovereign. And I feel it's a really powerful time to bring the two worlds together, the metaphysical and the physical, so that we can really, really land ourselves into our full power and potential, and just let the old fall away so that we can create what we are here to do. And obviously, yeah, it's all being guided to facilitate this process.
Exactly what you said, Aisling. I'm just so excited. This is such an exciting and magical time, and I am so excited to welcome beautiful beings who are going to join us. Thank you for being with us today. I would really like to invite you to see if you can apply some of what we looked at today. I know obviously we haven't been able to give you the depth of everything that's going to be in this program, but take a look at some of the aspects that we've talked about. Just scan through your lives and see how, even if you only just attend this call that we've done today, you can apply some of this information. And of course, if you feel called to join us in the program, we would be delighted to have you. I'm just going to drop the link to it in the chat here, and we will be sending it out later as well. And thank you so much, dear ones. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and for everyone joining on the replay also.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
taking the time.